You've tuned into the right channel. Please don't be alarmed.
By the end of this installment, I'm sure we'll leave you feeling quite charmed.
Hot topics and poetry? Why, it's an audio cuisine.
So sit back and enjoy this episode of The Scene.
Hi, Salina, and welcome to The Scene. It is super bright in here tonight. If we look a little bit brighter, it's because we have some new lights in here, so I feel like every pore in my skin is like, whoa! Ooh. What do you think? I know there's some shine coming off your head.
Yeah, yeah, it's really nice here. I'm loving it. But
yeah,
on the plus side, I know that people can look at me and now say, hey, that guy, he's a little bit old, and even he has pimples. There you go, kids. That's what you got to look forward to.
That never goes away.
Never goes
ever.
away.
So, what about some hot topics? You want to talk about some things?
Yes.
Do you have something in mind?
I do.
What is it? What is it? This looks serious.
I have a question.
Okay, what is it?
For you.
For me?
And for everybody else out there in TV land.
Okay.
We've got Ray Rice, the Ray Rice situation, right? Everybody's heard about that. I mean, it's been on the news. It's been on CBS News and Fox and ESPN and every last other channel so many thousands of times. I now have Ray Rice fatigue.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay? So everybody's heard the story. We're all seen the video, seen it a million times. Ray Rice, they kicked him out of the NFL basically. They cut him. He's gone. He's lost $24 million. We are against domestic violence. We hate it. We can't stand it. And then we have Hope Solo. Now you're probably thinking, who's Hope Solo?
No, I know who she is because I watched Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. So you know who Hope Solo is.
Sure.
For those of you who do not know who Hope Solo is, she's the captain of the United States women's soccer team.
Right.
Who was accused of domestic violence.
What did she do?
She apparently, allegedly, attacked a 17-year-old nephew and sister, and she's still the captain of the United States women's soccer team. Not the Baltimore Ravens, the United States soccer team.
All right.
What's the difference?
Well, there is no difference.
Rice, Hope Solo.
There's no difference,
What's the difference?
except football is different than soccer in the fact that the NFL ignored all of the things that Ray Rice did until the video came out. Okay? So they didn't do anything different than what the National Soccer League is doing, right?
So we have to have video now?
Well,
we have to have video to prove domestic violence or crimes? I read a stoplight, there's no video of that. I got away with that.
Oh, yes, there is. No, you didn't.
I didn't?
There's video everywhere. Come on.
But that shouldn't matter, right? One person was accused, and they lost their job and $24 million.
Yeah.
And another person is accused, and they're still playing.
Well, what about the rules for that? Okay, so the NFL has their rules, and the soccer league has their rules. Do those rules have to be the same?
Well, why shouldn't they be the same? Domestic violence is the same.
Well, I agree with that, but rules to keep your job aren't always the same, right? I mean, she should still be punished in the real world for domestic violence based on the fact that it's wrong and it's illegal and all of that. But does that mean she should lose her job based on what the rules of the soccer league are, based on what the rules of the National Football League are?
Well, I don't really think anybody should necessarily lose their job for that. How about we get that person some help?
Well,
we have basically kicked Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson to the curb, to their own devices. Now, I'm not going to feel sorry for anybody who's a millionaire, because I'm not one, number one. And number two, they have enough money to where they could go get help. But shouldn't their employer, I mean, let's just say on your job, if you decided you wanted to do heroin or something like that, hopefully your job wouldn't just fire you, they would try and get you some help.
That's true.
Why can't we just get everybody some help? Hope needs some help, Ray needs. Poor little Ray needs some help.
And
I'm not making light of the situation. I know people are like, man, that's just being a jerk right now. I am not. I am just saying, why is it that one guy gets kicked to the curb and one lady still gets to play her sport?
So do you think it's a guy versus girl thing?
I think that's one of the aspects.
Yikes. That opens up another whole can of worms.
I do. I think it's different. I think domestic violence when a man, and it is different. I mean, a man, except for maybe, who's that MMA fighter? What's that one? The armbar chick.
You're asking me about fighting?
What is her name? I don't know. I can see her face. Anyway, but I mean, except for her, I mean, a man, yes, can do more damage than a woman. Right. I mean, I get that. But domestic violence is domestic violence.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. But you're saying, why does she get to play her sport and
Right.
why does he not get to play his sport?
And she's
I don't think that
representing-
has anything to do with a man or a woman. I think that has to do with what the rules are based on who they work for.
Well, if you're representing the United States, shouldn't the rules be a little tougher than you're just representing Baltimore? I mean, it's just Baltimore. It's Baltimore, for crying out loud.
The people of Baltimore may not agree with you on that one.
Oh, ain't none of them watching, so I ain't got nothing to worry about.
Well, hopefully she will get the help she needs, and hopefully he will too. But I don't know.
There is one common thread, and all this is allegedly again. Both of them apparently were drunk. So alcohol kind of can make a situation go a little bit wrong. But we all know that.
Of course we do. Yeah.
We all know that.
Again, another can of worms.
Another can of worms.
Yeah. If you just stay sober, you won't do something stupid, right?
Well, I think a whole lot of bad things started with a guy saying, "Hold my beer." A lot of bad stuff happened from that. Just saying.
I can think of a lot of bad things that have happened to me when somebody has told me to do that for them.
Right, right.
Good heavens. All right, well, we're not going to solve this problem today, but we'll be right back with some guests.
You made it. Years of hard work, investing, planning, and now you're here. The long-awaited reward you spent a lifetime looking forward to. But what now? After years of growing a nest egg, now you may want to manage it. Use it to fund your dreams. Make it last as long as you need it. And leave some for those you love. So what do? Wall Street continues to be uncertain, and some conservative options have dropped through the floor. How do you maintain opportunities for growth and reduce risk of loss from market changes? That's where we come in. We are financial professionals. From insurance products to tax reduction strategies and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, provided by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies. You've worked a lifetime to get here. Let us help you enjoy it to the fullest. For a complimentary consultation, simply contact us today.
Hi, I'm Theresa Terry, and I would like to inform you about Swedish massage. Swedish massage is a general overall rub down. It can be done with light pressure or more deep pressure depending on your preference. Massage is a great reliever for sore, tired, or stressed muscles. Massage is very beneficial in helping you to relax. It is given using lotions and essential oils. Why not give yourself a time to unwind and relax, or give a friend or family member a gift certificate for a massage? They will love it. If you have any questions about massage, please call me during the day, Monday through Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. On Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The number is 785-823-2651.
Hi, welcome back, Salina. And we have with us tonight Cash Hollister and Tammy Jarvis, and they are going to talk to us a little bit about the poetry scene in and around Salina. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
So tell me about how you got your One Mic started and what that's all about.
One Mic started around 2 years ago. Just had this idea
Three.
of, it was two.
Two?
It was two. 2 years ago. I had this idea of doing something like Def Poetry Jam meets the Heartland. And if you know about Def Poetry Jam, it's where a lot of the best poets in the country would go perform. And it was an idea from Russell Simmons. So I just kind of wanted to take that, but then infuse it with Kansas. And so One Mic was born. I talked with Tammy about it, and she was gung-ho to have it at Astra downtown. And so that's where we've been having it for almost 2 years now.
How many participants do you usually have on a One Mic night?
We usually have anywhere from 10 to 15, just depending on the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a good representation of the poetry population in Salina?
I think so. And it's not really just poets from Salina. It's actually, we attract poets from Hutchinson, from Wichita, from Topeka, as far away as Lawrence as well. And so we get even Kansas City and
Wow.
Tulsa. And Tulsa. So,
And Tulsa?
Yeah, we've
I
had a
saw
couple
that on
poets.
there was somebody from Tulsa on that. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we get poets and spoken word enthusiasts from across the state. So I think that's what makes One Mic special, is that we have that title. We have that distinction of attracting people from not just across the state, but from the region as well.
So are people seeking you out, or are you like reaching out to people to have them come in?
It's a mixture of both. I do some of the seeking out, like for the featured poets. What we do is that we have a featured poet and we have a musical guest, and then we have like an open mic session, and that's where most of the poets sign up. And we have them sign up, and then they do a poem, reading, or a spoken word, or an a cappella rap, depending on whatever their flavor is. So, yeah, we bring them there and they throw down, so to speak.
Okay, so what's the difference between that? Because I'm like about as poet dumb as you can get. And you said something like spoken word. So what is obviously it's more than one word.
Right.
Or that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
You'd be like, bread. And then I would walk off and you'd be like, that was dope, man. You got up there and said bread. Did you hear the way
Give
he
me
said
the
it?
meaning of
So
that.
what's the difference between like poetry and spoken word and like the a cappella rap? What are the differences?
Spoken word it's more of like, I guess, a dramatic interpretation of a poem. So they infuse a lot of feelings and emotions, whereas poetry sometimes is kind of read sort of straightforward, or I think, excuse me, that's the difference between those. As far as a cappella rap, it's basically a rap that's off of beat, that has no beat to it. So I am a rapper, but sometimes I'll take some of my raps and put them in poetry form or in spoken word form and perform them.
Now it still has a beat when you speak it. It just doesn't have any music beats behind it.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's the difference.
Okay, so how is that different than like a monologue?
I don't think there's really any difference between that. I think just
There's not really a lot of difference. I mean, a monologue probably has a tendency to be less rhythmic, perhaps, whereas a poem or the spoken word, certainly, at least most of the stuff that we have going on at our place definitely has a kind of rhythm to it. But it's not. It's not a definite thing. I mean, the line's very blurry there.
yeah.
Do you write as well, Tammy?
I do, yeah.
How did you get involved in that? What made you get started in it?
In the poetry scene or in writing?
Just, like in the poetry scene in general. I mean, if you're a writer by nature, does that kind of evolve into poetry, or is it the other way around?
I think it can. In my case, it certainly did. I started writing from a very young age. You know, I was junior high school, and it really started just, you know, as a release, which I think is a reason that a lot of people start writing. Like, I've just got to get this stuff out of me. And I wrote like that for a long time. And then, you know, I have like stacks and stacks of sketchbooks, you know, that I draw as well. So it's like, you know, words or thoughts or ticket stubs or doodles or, you know, just like stacks and stacks of these books. And for a long time, that provided the release that I needed. And then it started to just feel, there came a point in my life where I was still just feeling really stifled. And so I tell this story sometimes at one mic for people who don't know, but I started a blog. When my son was very young, I started a blog. And the thing that I have to clarify to people is that I'm not like the typical like soccer mom blogging about fashion or, you know, whatever. Like it was poetry, and it was a release to me. Nobody that I knew about my blog, and so in my own personal life, it was anonymous. I was just sort of like putting myself out there among the masses. I didn't know who was reading it. I didn't know what they thought. There was no feedback. There was no nothing. I was just putting it out there. And
kind of like what we're doing here.
Right?
That's it. Just like what we're doing here.
I'm kidding.
And so, you know, that felt really good for a while. And that was kind of, to me, it seemed like it was kind of the next step up. You know, it was like made what I was doing a little bit bigger. And then that kind of quit being very rewarding for me. It wasn't feeling, you know, I still felt very clandestine kind of. And then I ran into cash and had no idea, had never performed my poetry live before, and had no idea the rush or the addiction or the release that was going to have. But it absolutely did. And there's something about, it doesn't work this way for everybody, but there's some, for me personally, I think for a lot of people who get up on that stage, there's something about saying it out loud gets that out of you. I mean, certainly it's a type of performance.
Sure.
You know, we do theater and stuff together, but you know, this is a very, very personal type of performance, at least for me. I mean, this is like me reading my diary out loud sometimes,
Right,
you know,
right.
so yeah, so it's a release.
And I imagine that can be a little scary too, not
Absolutely.
knowing what kind of feedback you're going to get from people.
And especially for me, I read my diary out loud in my place of business. So that's a little,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I see these people every day, day in and day out. And so, you know, it's, luckily for me, for those of you who know me, I kind of don't have a curtain, really.
Or a filter.
No filter, no curtain. It's just kind of out
why we
there.
love you.
Right? But yeah, it can definitely be a little bit scary. The nerves start to get you, you know,
Yeah.
when you get up there.
Well, I am super excited because we're going to have a live poetry reading right now. So I'm going to have Cash introduce our reader.
Yeah, up on the mic is one of our resident one mic poets. She does not like to be called M. Her nickname is Ree, but you guys, the scene I'd like to introduce to you guys, Emery.
A poet's world will always be words, syllables, rhymes, and verbs. Poets are never happy. We're never satisfied with a humdrum life. We have to be conflicted in every which way. We have to feel the sting of life in order to write, in order to survive. We have ink stains on our callous fingers. We're weird, strange to the point of alienation. We're shy, to the point of self-segregation. Sometimes we avoid eye contact, say outrageous things in inopportune times. We think in rhymes. With words we will fight. Very few can live a poet's life. We're angry. With a poet's eye we see. We lack the ability to engage unless it's unless we're on stage and it's the spotlight that beams and it's only us you see. We're poets, we're loners. Some of us are loud, some proud, some quiet, some ready to riot. We make playlists that are sick. We all read books that are thick. Poets go into the blackness because that's where we learn to see. Poets are broken and broke. While our word banks are full, our checking account often says less than zero, and there's something that makes us fill absent gaps in our head with words, syllables, rhymes, and verbs. We steal verses as if it's a loaf that feeds. We write until we fall asleep, to wake up, to write until our eyes we can't keep open, sliding shut while ideas still flood in. Can't keep a full night's sleep. Dreams are often constant and heavy. Anything is the enemy if it stops us from writing. Scratching words on a page is therapeutic, which means we're constantly in session, constantly learning our life lessons, skinning our knees and surviving by the skin of our teeth to keep a piece of ourselves on this stage. We're hungry and cold, and the conversations we have with ourselves in our minds is way more complex than when it needs to be because we like it like that. We like things a mess. A poet's head is filled with chapter verses and passages with big words and lame love poems and a list of the drugs that we're on and at least lines from at least 50 of our favorite songs, keeping our center core in tune, whatever will fulfill or subside that ache we get when we don't write because we are poets. Like a baby rushed with breath, poets forget to breathe. We sometimes need a little space to reach the furthest it will take to get these words etched out on this page because it ain't easy standing up here laying our souls bare. We are the dreamers of dreams. We see things differently. We're often antisocial, sometimes awkward, but inside us all there's something soft where we keep our best words, rhymes, syllables, and verbs. A perfect world for us is a place where we can write, rest, and eat mangoes. Most poets just want quiet, a corner of the world, just a tiny niche. Us poets, we stay up all night, and letters and words creep into our subconscious, and when we sleep, we're really writing songs, and we recognize that it's both a blessing and a curse to feel things so deeply. We poets, we take you to unspeakable places and forcing you to overthink certain situations, get you as listener to hear what we got going on. A poet's head is a beautiful mess. We're storytellers and cluttered room dwellers. We create until our head hurts and communicate in verse. A pen and a moleskin are our best friends because they hold us at our worst and lift us from life's dirt. We poets give color to words. We make big a small world. We understand how words make the universe turn. Us poets, we attract what we can't have. Always reaching for what's just out of our grasp. We're really ever waiting for the yearning to pass we get when this cloud of creative thinking submerges our whole being, and our world is just not quite right until an idea is finally set in stone. And that's when we're able to keep going, able to live in a world that's so lonely, able to breathe easier when in our minds we're going under, when all we feel are loud claps of inner thunder. Words, syllables, rhymes, and verbs hold us center until the storm is over, keeps us sane when life gets heavy, leads us down paths of love, life, hate, passion, jealousy, and envy. Our world will always be words, syllables, rhymes, and verbs. A poet's world is always going to be words, syllables, rhymes, and verbs.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. We are going to be right back to talk to the poet and find out what all that means.
By law, public access is open to all citizens and to all viewpoints and for only non-commercial purposes. If you have any idea for a television program, we want you to be a member and we want to cablecast your program. TV for you, by you. Just give us a call at 785-823-2500 to find out more. Hey, are you cruising around late at night looking for something to do? Come on down to Access TV and we will help you film whatever you want and get it on air. That's Access TV 823-2500.
Hi, welcome back. And now we have our poetry person here, Emery, and I don't know about you, Jeff, but that was pretty powerful.
I was moved.
Pretty powerful and a lot said. So let's talk a little bit about style, first of all. Cash mentioned some different styles of poetry. How would you categorize your style there?
That'd probably be spoken word.
Spoken word?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were writing all of that down, were you in a particularly dark place in your life, or were you just trying to get to the point where you could get people to understand from the poet's view how you create?
That particular poem just came like literally line by line for about a month and a half. I wasn't in any particular mood or anything. It was just like, I'm just gonna put down a line a day until it's done. And that's pretty much how that one came up. I wanted to explain how, like, especially from an artist's point of view, our heads are a mess all the time, every day. So there isn't really ever a calm moment in an artist's head. So even when we're sleeping, so yeah.
Do you two agree with that?
Yep.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I was telling Cash there during the break, I was like, that's funny because that's me, what she's talking about, except I don't have the ability to write that down. I don't even know where that comes from. I mean, where does that come from? I know you say you're putting like a word or a line down like a day, but how do you get all that down and then like put it together and then come up with something like that? How does that happen?
I have no idea. Sometimes I don't even remember some of the poems that I write. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and just put something down and leave myself a note to check my notes. And yeah, I don't know where it comes from. It just comes out.
Do you always have paper and pencil beside your bed then? To, you know, if you wake up and do that, I mean, I hear that a lot of people, writers, not just writers of poetry, but do a lot of that waking up in the middle of the night, thinking of something and they want to write it down. So they've got to have something there all the time. Do you three do that?
Yeah, I do that. Because if not, then I will wake up and literally forget. So it's kind of a brain dump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a cloud. It will come and it's only there for so long before it evaporates and it's not there anymore.
I never thought of taking that long to write something. The poetry that I'm familiar with for myself is something that I did like in school. You know, when teacher said, go write a poem, this is what we're going to do today. And you sit down and you have to make this creation all at one time because it's due tomorrow. So then you're trying to think about what you're going to get down on paper, how you're going to get it there. And it's very, very difficult to spit all that out at one time. But I guess I never really thought about having the opportunity to, a line a day. I mean, I couldn't stay focused that long on one thing.
Well, you know, Shauna, I think that a big difference is between catching those little brain dumps that I have throughout the day, throughout the night, just throughout sort of life in general, and the teacher telling you to sit down and write a poem is that I'm feeling mine. I'm feeling this. This is coming from my everyday experience, from interactions that I have every day with different people, with myself, with my own insecurities a lot of times. And so it becomes very real for me, and it is about our lives. Whereas the poem that you just sit down and write for the teacher is forced. You can't sit there and spit it out because, you know, what are you feeling at this very moment? You might be able to come up with something a little bit, but, you know, the length of time that it takes to come up with something personal, you know, and something that's on a really real level, you know, can be a minute, can be, I mean, you know, Emery and I have talked, Emery's written poems and she just spit like 5 minutes worth of poems that she started this morning to me before we got on the air tonight. And so, you know, it just comes at all different speeds, and the idea is you want to catch as much of that as you can and keep it so that you can remember it, and then you go back to it later and work it into something that's presentable to people.
So you take little snippets of things that happen to you and then blend them together into like one work of art.
I have a book that I just write words that I like strung together, phrases and ideas, story ideas. And if there's ever a time that I'm stumped or stuck, I'll just go back to that list and, find a phrase and just build from that phrase.
And that's the same way for me. I think when I write my raps, I have just a book of couplets, like ending lines or ending syllables or punchlines that I'll remember or I'll write down. So if I'm stuck on something, I go back to that and sort of put it together. It's like a puzzle for me as far as writing. I'm sort of dyslexic in my writing. I never start at the top. I'm usually in the middle or in the bottom, and I work my way up. And then that's kind of how my poems and raps go.
So do you guys still use pen and paper, or now we got the cell phones and we got recorders and all that? Do you use any of that, or is it all still pencil and paper kind of done?
All of it.
All of it.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's nothing like a journal,
Right.
Yeah.
but there's also nothing like being able to speak into your phone and not having to write anything down.
And I think a lot of that has to do with like where I'm at and what I'm doing when the muse hits. If I'm driving my car, I have to do the voice deal and just hope that Siri gets it right for a minute, you know what I mean? And like decipher it when I go back. But for me at least, it has to do with what I'm doing, where I'm at. I have like Post-it notes stuck all over, just like random little, stuff, just wherever I can get it down. Whatever's handy is.
I used to have a little box that had crumpled pieces of paper in it that I just write down, crumple up, and put in the box. If I ever got stuck, I'd pull something out.
Yeah, I have about 3 or 4 shoe boxes full of just random papers
Receipts.
with just, the backs of receipts,
Right,
stuff like
backs
that.
of
So many receipts.
You find a rhyme.
Napkins,
Yep.
yeah, chewing gum wrappers, whatever you have to
A
write
couple of
on.
those too.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I heard that, what Emery just did, I thought, well, I'd like to do something like that. But then I heard that and I was like, I could do nothing like that.
No.
So I never will.
But
let's just say if somebody wanted to and they wanted to come down to the poetry, how would they get it? I mean, how would they get
They,
can you just show up and say, hey, I'm putting my name on a list, or how does it work?
What we do is like I said, we have 2 sessions. And it's every 3rd Friday of the month we host one mic, and that's at Astra. It's at 7 o'clock. Anybody 16 and older can attend, and if you're under 16, you gotta be accompanied by an adult. But you just come and you just sign up. We have about 7 slots open for each session, and so it's first come, first serve. So you can, and it's any style, and our audience is really, really supportive. They're not, they're not judging, they're not throwing tomatoes at you at all. It's, they're really, really about just the poetry, and it doesn't matter if it's short, it doesn't matter if it's lengthy. It's a testing ground for a lot of first-time poets and people that have never spoken before, that they can just say what they want to say.
Do you ever discuss the poetry after it's read?
No. Not in any official form. I mean, certainly we have, Ad Astra has kind of formed this, or at Ad Astra, there has formed this sort of poet family that, we've all, we might hang out, together afterwards, or and talk about different things, but there's no real formal discussion. The thing that I love about One Mic is that it's so laid back, and people can come and maybe think that they want to read, but or speak, but they want to just check it out first, and you sit and you can be completely anonymous, just a face in the crowd, and not sign up, and maybe next time you come you decide you're brave enough to sign up this time. And there's a wide variety of people who come. I mean, there's there's Cash, there's me, there's 60-year-old grandpas, there's teenage white girls, and it's like just this
Yeah.
wide span of different stuff.
Yeah, and that's the most interesting thing about it. I think a lot of people that make up the one mic audience, you would probably never see in another setting. You wouldn't see a doctor with a skateboarder, with a white guy with dreadlocks, with a rapper. You know what I mean? And it's in the only setting that ever happens is that one mic. So
The
and
common bond.
Yeah, it's poetry. So
That's awesome.
it's a slice of.
We like to call it the coolest event in the city.
It's the coolest event in the city.
It is.
So if you want to go to the coolest event in the city, one mic, every third Friday at Astra. Check it out, Salina. We'll be right back.
Whatever your world, Access TV can put it on air. Give us a call at 823-2500. However you get to Access, just get to Access. Come visit us at 215 North 9th Street, Salina, Kansas. Phone number is 75823-2500.
Hi, welcome back. Our ladies have left us for the evening, but we are going to talk a little bit more with Cash about one mic and how he promotes that.
Yeah, what I do is I promote it through Facebook and through Twitter. Facebook is facebook.com/onemickansas, as well as Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @onemickansas. Mostly it's just been through word of mouth. I mean, we do have flyers around town and things of that nature. And, thanks to our sponsors, like some of our sponsors are Kansas Wesleyan Radio and the Multicultural Student Union of K-State Salina. So that goes on the college campuses. And Express Print kind of helps us out with that. But yeah, most of that is just word of mouth. And so between the word of mouth and the Facebook and Twitter promotions, that's what's been getting the word out to where we've pretty much consistently have had a packed night every time we've done it.
So it's about how many people are there on any given night?
It's anywhere from about 80 to 120, which
Wow.
I didn't know Ad Astra was big enough to hold that.
yeah, we didn't either until it started happening. So
Wow. That's amazing.
yeah. So we've had, like I said, 120 has been our biggest night, and we average anywhere from 80 to 100 every time we do it. So.
Is there seating in there for that many people?
There is seating, and we've anticipated big nights sometimes, and so we've brought in extra chairs as well. So we've packed past capacity, and fire marshal. We haven't said anything.
Don't say anything to the fire marshal.
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm curious though, when you talk about people coming from such a long distance away, what do you think is the draw for that? Do they not have that in their own communities?
I think actually most of them do. I know Kansas City and Tulsa, for instance, they definitely do have their own poetry community. I think it's for them, it's just getting outside of their city, expanding their network, and going into a new audience and experiencing new things. I think that's one of the things about just poetry and artists in general is that they just want to experience something new. And, you know, we try and give them the opportunities to do that. A lot of the featured poets we have never heard of Salina, Kansas ever in life. And so they want to come out and experience it.
Never heard of Salina?
Yeah.
Can't imagine that.
I know.
Yeah,
I thought
but
we were the people capital of the world.
but the overwhelming, I guess the common denominator from everybody after they performed is just that Salina is very welcoming, that the audience is very, very good, and that the vibe is incredible. And that's what we kind of set out to do, is just to have that vibe of where anybody from any walk of life can just come and just enjoy a night out, and that people in Salina, they're looking for something grown up and classy to do that doesn't necessarily involve a bar.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, this is something that we provide, and it happens once every month. So, I mean, as far as the other 30 days, you're on your own, but, you know, at least one time we got you, so.
Do you think that it will expand to the point where it'll be too big for Ad Astra to host?
Sounds like it's too big right
I mean,
Not that I'm running it off.
Fire Marshal. No,
I've been in that place before, and I'm just trying to imagine 120 people in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's been talk about that, but I always like keeping it there. I think just the downtown feel for somebody to just walk downtown and look for something to do on Friday night. They come in, and I know one of the attendants, Brad from Salina Arts and Humanities, said that it's like walking off of Massachusetts Street if you've been to Lawrence. It's like a slice of Mass Street, like walking in there and walking into that. It's very cultural, and so we want that. And I think that's what downtown Salina is actually lacking, honestly. So I want to keep it there, you know, as long as possible.
It is. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I've always thought that the downtown of your city says a lot about your city.
Yeah.
And every city that I've ever been in, I lived in Kansas City, lived in San Antonio, and the downtown has always been Dallas. It's always, you have that West End, or you know, you have somewhere where you can go. So I'm kind of very happy to see that this is working out here. I'm going to start supporting it.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be some more things popping up from that, because downtown Salina really does need to go. Not that I'm down at anywhere else, but the downtown of the city says a lot about your city.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I know Tammy, I can speak for Tammy on this, is that we wanted to bring that. We always get the overwhelming thing that is said about Salina is that it sucks. And so we were like, okay, well, this makes it kind of suck less. You know what I mean? Like we were aiming to, you know, change that perception of Salina, and I feel that we've accomplished it, and so we're gonna keep at it. So in October we celebrate our 2-year anniversary. You know, Salina is kind of fickle in regards to, you know, attending something on a consistent basis. Something new comes, it pops up, everybody's there. Then about 3 or 4 months later, it just dies out. So the fact that it's been around for 2 years has said a lot. So
that's our restaurant scene here.
It
You
is.
get a new restaurant, you can't even get into it for a month at least without waiting for over an hour. And then all the newness dies off and people kind of go away and back to their grills and their kitchens. And so that's really awesome that you guys have been able to sustain that level of interest for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I do think it has something to do with, I mean, I would really hate to see it leave Ad Astra. There's something about that intimate setting that makes people feel all warm and fuzzy inside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
It's that the warmness of that, and if you go to a larger place, I think people spread out. Yeah, you lose that. People spread out and start congregating over here in little groups, and you know, then you get your thing going. But in there, you're kind of all just one big family, community, enjoying the same thing that everybody else is enjoying.
Exactly, and that's what I definitely like. And out of that, we've actually expanded. We actually have a one mic in Wichita as well that we do the first Fridays of every month in Wichita as well. And so there's another city too that we're talking to as far as expanding out there. So out of the gathering that we've had in Salina, it's expanded.
Is that an old town in Wichita?
Midtown, I want to say, Anna Murdoch's.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's close to it's close to downtown. Yeah.
Was it your love of poetry that got you to get this whole thing going?
It was that, and then my boredom. because I was like, there was nothing really to do. And so for me, like I'm always a person that likes to plan things, plan events and stuff like that. And so I just saw that there was a niche that needed to be filled. And so that was the thing. So it was my love of poetry, but then it was also, hey, look, I'm bored. I got to do something.
He's a grinder. We need more grinders in this world.
Yeah, well, and he's up all night writing poetry. So,
Right.
so yeah.
And running into people who are fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
that was great.
Absolutely.
That was great.
One more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever set any of your poetry to music?
Yes, I have. A couple of my songs have been set to music that were just originally poems. But for the most part, that's not my normal process. Like for me, I listen to the beats that I get first and then I write off of that. But it's in rare instances, my poems have been turned to music.
Isn't that kind of what happens with songwriters? Are
Yes,
they,
me.
well,
I'm a songwriter.
you know, last time you wrote that hit song that,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, somebody stole from you?
Maybe got back.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm thinking that that's kind of along the same lines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're writing about something that they've, you know, a feeling that they've had or something that's happened in their life, but before they set it to music, it comes out more in more of a spoken or a poetry
Sometimes
style.
sometimes they do. The musical guest that we have, the reason why we have a musical guest, not just to break up the sessions, but to explain their songs as well, like as the poets sometimes explain their poems. And a lot of times that has been the case where it's just no music, they just write it out, and then from there they set it to music. So we've had that there as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I feel totally enlightened by all of this.
Ew.
I am looking really forward to coming down and catching
Yeah.
one mic and seeing what that's all about. And we thank you so much for sharing all that with us and being with us tonight.
Cool. Thank you for
Appreciate
having me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Every third Friday of the month.
All right, you heard it, Salina.